Commander Jake Morrison slammed his data pad onto the briefing table, the electronic display flickering with his mission report. The assembled officers of the Terran Colonial Command leaned back in their chairs, expressions ranging from disappointment to outright disgust. 2 credits? Admiral Chen's voice carried the weight of 1,000 failed expeditions. You're telling me that the Kepler 442b outpost, which cost us 50 million credits to establish, is now worth exactly 2 credits? Jake ran a weathered hand through his graying hair. 3 months in the Outer Rim had aged him a decade. The infrastructure's completely shot, Admiral. Radiation storms fried the power grid, the atmospheric processors are slag, and the mining equipment. He shrugged. Scrap metal at best. Captain Rodriguez, head of resource allocation, leaned forward. What about the rare earth deposits? The geological surveys showed... Gone. Jake's voice was flat. Strip mined clean by automated harvesters before the storms hit. There's nothing left but empty caverns and worthless rock. The room fell silent except for the hum of the station's life support systems. Jake had seen that look before. The look of bureaucrats calculating losses, of politicians preparing to assign blame. He'd been the scapegoat for failed missions. Before, but never one this spectacular. Well, Admiral Chen said finally, at least we know where we stand. Salvage what you can, and prepare the base for abandonment protocols. We'll write it off as a total loss. As the officers filed out, muttering about budget shortfalls and congressional hearings, Jake remained seated. He thought about the journey. Back to Kepler 442b he'd have to make. The lonely months ahead dismantling what had once been humanity's most ambitious mining operation. 3 weeks later, Jake found himself back on the desolate surface of Kepler 442b, his small salvage crew working methodically through the ruins. The planet's twin suns cast harsh shadows across the skeletal remains of the base, and the constant wind carried the metallic taste of ionized particles. Morrison, you need to see this. Sergeant Kim's voice crackled through the comm system. Jake made his way to the main HAB module, where Kim stood before a section of wall that had been blown open by the radiation storms. Behind the twisted metal, a narrow passage led deeper into the facility. This wasn't on any of the blueprints, Kim said, handing Jake a portable scanner. The passage goes down at least 50 meters. Jake squeezed through the opening, his flashlight cutting through. The darkness. The passage was clearly not human construction. The walls were too smooth, the angles too organic. After 20 minutes of careful descent, he emerged into a vast underground chamber and froze. Thousands of crystalline pods filled the cavern, each one glowing with a soft blue light. And in the center of it all, a small figure sat cross-legged on the floor, apparently waiting. She couldn't have been more than 12 years old, if age had any meaning for her species. Her skin had a translucent quality, like polished jade, and her large, luminous eyes reflected his flashlight beam. When she spoke, her voice was like wind chimes. "You came back," she said in perfect English. Jake's hand instinctively moved to his sidearm, then stopped. The girl, alien girl, showed no signs of hostility. In fact, she seemed almost relieved. "Who are you?" Jake asked, keeping his voice steady. "My name is Lyra," she said, standing gracefully. "I am the guardian of the sleeping city." Sleeping city? She gestured to the pods around them. "My people have slept here for 3,000 years, waiting for the radiation storms to pass. We chose this place because it was safe, hidden." Her expression grew sad. "But then your people came. You built above us without knowing we were here." Jake's mind raced. "The mining operations, we never detected any life signs." "We exist between frequencies," Lyra explained. "Your instruments cannot perceive us while we sleep. But I remained awake to watch, to protect." "Why are you telling me this? Why reveal yourself now?" Lyra's eyes sparkled. Because you came back alone. Others would see the pods and think of profit, of exploitation. But you, she tilted her head, you called this place worthless. You see no value in what you cannot understand. That makes you different. Jake looked around the chamber with new eyes. The pods weren't just containers. They were works of art, each one unique, pulsing with life. The chamber itself was a masterpiece of bioengineering, seamlessly integrated with the planet's natural cave system. Your report said this base was worth 2 credits, Lyra continued. What if I told you it was worth everything? I don't understand. Lyra walked to the nearest pod, placing her small hand on its surface. My people are the Kythera. We are gardeners, healers. We can restore dead worlds, cure diseases your science cannot comprehend, teach harmony between technology and nature. She looked at him seriously. But we have learned to be cautious. Many species have tried to enslave us for our abilities. Jake knelt to her eye level. What do you want from me? Partnership, she said simply. Your species is young, violent, but not without hope. You make terrible mistakes, but you learn from them. You could be allies if you choose wisely. And if I report this? If I tell my superiors what I've found? Lyra's expression grew grave. Then my people will disappear, as we have done countless times before. You will find empty pods and worthless rock, just as your report claimed. Jake stood slowly, the weight of the decision settling on his shoulders. He thought of Admiral Chen, of budget meetings and congressional hearings. He thought of humanity's endless hunger for resources and power. Then he thought of second chances. The base is worth 2 credits, he said finally. Scrap metal and empty caverns. Lyra smiled, and the chamber seemed to glow brighter. But, Jake continued, I might know some people who'd be interested in a long-term research partnership. Scientists, not soldiers. People who understand that some things can't be bought or conquered. As Lyra nodded, Jake realized that sometimes the most valuable discoveries were the ones that never made it into official reports. Sometimes, the best way to save the future was to claim there was nothing worth saving at all. The base would remain, worthless on paper. But in reality, it had just become priceless.